now. And okay, and this recording will make this available after the session as well, so you can go back to it. My name's Sarah Stewart. I'm one of the doctoral college managers. I'm responsible for the Coleraine and Derry London Derry campuses. So that's just 2 campuses. It's not 3 like it sounds like. Derry's so good they had to name it twice. And I'll let Gwen introduce herself there.
Yeah, so I'm Gwen McCracken and I'm Sarah's counterpart from the Belfast campus.
Thank you. So I am going to lead the training this morning, and Gwen will manage the chat. Thank you, Gwen. So you're very well, this is quite informal, so you're very welcome if you have queries as we go along to raise your hand on MS Teams, and Gwen will have a look out for that and bring you in. Or you can put any queries into the chat, and Gwen will keep an eye on that and try and answer them there and then, or maybe if depending on how things are, maybe explore those on the system. And I see Christine has also joined us. Christine's from our RDP team, the Researcher Development Programme team, and I will do my best on researcher development queries as well, but Christine is more of an expert on that side of things. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So just bear with me, please. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Just so you know, I can't see anyone nod or anything at this stage now, so you'll have to talk to me. Okay, now this is not exactly how you would see our own Ulster PhD manager. We would have Ulster up here. If you haven't been on, there's branding and badging that makes it clear that it's an Ulster PhD manager system when you're on our live system. This is a demonstration system, so I'm not using live data particular to any real individuals, so just for data protection and so on. So what I'm going to try to do today is give you an overview of what you should expect and some of the things that you will find useful in the early stages of your PhD and MPhil studies. I don't think there's anyone who's on an MRes joining us this morning. So I am impersonating a PhD researcher in art and design called Anton Osborne. And let's see, I will go to his personal record. So when you do this on our own system, you'll find it's a very similar format. So your name will be here, your category as a researcher, a postgrad researcher will be here, your Ulster email address will be here, your campus, and then your unit of assessment as well, or the unit of assessment you'll hear quite a bit. That's really your subject area. Then going on to your project record, the format for yourselves will be very similar to this as well. So the title of your project will be at the top here. Now this makes absolutely no sense at all. Anton might want to take a look at this. As I said, this is all randomized data, so just we're concentrating on the format rather than how much sense it makes this morning. So your name will be here. The supervisor team is just here. So one thing to note is the person at the top of the list, that's who you would term as your lead supervisor or chair of your supervisory team. And then if you put in anything, any forms or anything or any assessments on PhD Manager, that will go to your first supervisor for approval. Okay, so in the workflow. Then we have your project status. It'll tell you if you're registered or not. Your project mode, whether you're full-time, part-time. Your program here, you could be MPhil or PhD. If you're one of our international candidates, then you'll have a note here that you hold a student visa. And then this, I wouldn't worry about this but so much. Okay, so I'll run through some of these tabs here on the right-hand side. So the project, oh sorry, and I should mention this bit at the bottom. Now the format of the this table at the bottom of your own project record isn't quite so detailed, but it will have your project start, so that will be January 2024. And if you're with us full time, then the project end date will be January 2027. And if you're part time, it'll be January 2030. Seems a very long way away. So I'll move on to the tabs over on the right. Has anyone got any questions before I do? No. Okay, good stuff. Project history, it gives a bit more of a breakdown of the detail of here for Anton, just really all of his dates. So some of the workshops that he attended over his time registered so far, and then any reminders that were sent to him about pieces of work that he needed to do when he did some of the interim assessments as well. That'll all be here. So that's quite straightforward, and you can click into some of these as well, so that's handy. Back on the student record, project dates. This sets out the key dates for the likes of the interim assessment. So that's your initial assessment, confirmation assessment, final assessment. And I'll come back to those and explain those later. The annual report and the exam. So there's different stages to the Viva exam at the very end of your studies after coming up to submission. Now, that's so far away, I'm not going to go into that for now. But it's just showing you that that's what that is, and it gives a deadline, and it gives you'll receive reminders about these assessments and so on. However, I would say that for while you might get a reminder, some of them are maybe a little bit they're a little bit out of schedule for the individual UAs. So you should subject area. So you should look at your handbook for your subject area, and that would be here. I think this was referred to at the Doctoral College induction last Monday. So I'll put this into the chat later. But this page here provides an overview of the handbooks here, and then also the names and then the contact details, if you click into them, of your research director, your postgraduate tutor, your admin support, and your PhD researcher representative. So you'll probably get to know your postgraduate tutor a bit more. They would be responsible for even pastoral care, but if you have issues, you can go to them. Admin support would help you with sort of maybe more daily type queries if you needed help with submitting expenses or something like that, or needed to know where something was, you would speak to them. And then if you had wider issues that you wanted to be raised and escalated at, say, the PhD Researcher Representative Forum, then you should contact those representatives listed there, and it has all of the subject areas. So coming back to the handbooks, if you click in here, this is our Architecture, Built Environment and Planning Handbook. It gives all the details there. Actually, Gwen, do you want to explain that they're being updated at the minute? I've maybe clicked into a bad example.
Yep, no, that is one of the new version handbooks. When
Okay.
you look at your own handbook, it might at the moment still be in a PDF format. Our digital team have advised, because of accessibility issues, that we should move them all onto web pages. So some areas have already transitioned onto basically a web version of a handbook, whereas others are still PDF, but the same content will be there. We're in the process of updating them at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So in the handbooks, you'll find information on the exact format and timing of the interim assessment. So that's your initial assessment, which is also referred to sometimes, you'll hear, as the 100 days Viva, and then the confirmation assessment and the final assessment, and also a bit on your Viva and everything else related to your studies. Okay. So, where was I? Anton. So I'll talk a bit about the supervision meetings. So you'll already know that as a full-time PhD researcher or postgraduate researcher, you're expected to meet with your supervisors at least once a month. Now, and for part-time, it would be maybe less frequent. So we would suggest once every 2 months, but it depends on yourself and on your supervisor and what you agree between yourselves. For our international candidates, I have to stress that we use PhD Manager for monitoring engagement, and therefore international candidates must meet with their supervisors in person at least once a month and have that instance of a meeting record signed off by their supervisor on PhD Manager by the end of each month. If you don't, and we all know that people are busy and so on, but if that's not there, you could well hear directly from the university's compliance team, because they'll be wondering if you've missed a meeting, and it's just much simpler to ensure that your supervisor approves those supervisor meetings by the end of the month. So that's for our international candidates. Obviously, though, for all postgraduate researchers, we are hoping that your supervisors will be on the ball and will sign off things in a timely way, but people are busy. So it is up to all postgraduate researchers to ensure that their own supervisor meetings are signed off. So if something is sat with your supervisor for a while, you might have to give them a nudge. So for our candidates who are not visa holders, you can hold meetings online, or along the same lines, you can meet with the international candidates. If you have more than one meeting, the second meeting of a month can be online as well by MS Teams. It's just that we need at least one in-person meeting signed off on PhD Manager for every month. So you could do it in real time, actually, if you wanted. That can cut down on delays. Okay, so when we're setting up a new supervision meeting as Anton, you can those are the participants that come up here will be you and then each of your supervisors. So it's not necessarily that you meet with all your supervisors for every meeting, just at least one other. So Anton's at this meeting, and so is Dr. Mag, and they're going to meet. We can plan this for the future. So they're going to meet tomorrow, and they're going to meet at 12 o'clock in Coleraine, the best campus. It's where I am right now. And they're going to meet in person. So we don't do telephone or email meetings, and video conference is really MS Teams. It's what we use now at the uni. And you'll not need the meeting to not take place. So meeting notes and files, this could be maybe a bit like an agenda. So things that you wanted to discuss, so you can put this in, and your supervisor has time to have a think about some of these things that you are going to raise. Agreed action points, this comes in after the meeting. So after the meeting, you come back in and you can edit it as part of signing off and agreeing that the meeting took place. Accompanying files, this is optional. So you can put in, let's say, or maybe there's nothing at all, so either is fine. So you can save and continue. And that will sit until after the meeting has taken place. Now I've programmed that in for tomorrow. So this demo system isn't going to update and say that it has taken place yet. After the meeting has taken place, the postgraduate researcher goes back into the record of the meeting and hits edit meeting notes, and then we'll populate this text box here, agreed action points. So I don't know, first draft of chapter 1 to be written by whatever, and then save and continue. Now, when you're happy with your own record of the meeting and you've hit save and continue, that will go on. I won't do this because this is in the future. It will go to the supervisor that you had the meeting with, and it will sit with them to go in and approve that the meeting took place. Now, if they change anything, you will get a prompt and let you know that they have made an edit or changed it, and you still have the option to go in and say that you agree with those edits, you're happy with those, or make your own amendments again if you like. So it's just so you're aware of that. So that's the supervisor meetings. Has anyone got any questions about that? No.
Hello, Sarah. Magella's
Hello.
just put a comment into the chat box. Can you put meeting notes in retrospectively, or can you only do it from date of registration? So
You can
Magella,
put
do you
them-
mean if you've had a meeting before you've registered, or?
You want a cup of tea?
I was supposed to register in September, and it was delayed the end of January, but I had been meeting some of the supervisors before that, and I do have notes in the file. So I was just wondering, for a complete record, can I put them up there, or do I just keep them separately? That's.
Do you know what? I would say even put a meeting in for today and update your notes, so at least you have a record. Do you know, if you wanted to do it from, and just get that meeting confirmed by them, just to say the work. Do you know what do you think? Yeah.
No, that'd be okay. It's just because I knew it had gone to PhD manager, but because I didn't get enrolled end of January, I wasn't able to do it. And then I thought, right, I'll just wait and get this training and then see what's the best thing to do. No,
I'd say definitely get it logged. The stuff you've done and the comments you've got. I would say definitely get logged, but don't worry about being retrospective. I would just put it in for now, and your supervisors can approve it. So then you at least have the content, because then it's easier. As Sarah showed you, you can go in and find meetings that are 3 years ago. It's just that you would have it on the system at least if.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, they have approved them by email, but that's it. So.
Yeah, I would get them to just confirm it through the system, because it's easier for you then later to get that back. Yep.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
And then let me see, Kira has a question. What if the meeting is rescheduled? Can the date in the form be updated?
Yes, I think so. Yeah. You would just go into edit meeting notes and amend these bits here.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, just so you know as well, the supervisor meetings can be set up in advance, or say you forgot, or they can be, as Gwen outlined there, they can be put in retrospectively. But the supervisor you'll still need to tell the supervisor about it. It's not that this will. Well, I would suggest that you set up an MS Teams slot with them, so they definitely know about it. Okay, and the meeting themselves is not held in PhD Manager. I've had that question before. It's on MS Teams. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. PhD Manager is not a platform for having meetings on. I've had that before. Okay. Let me see. So I'm just going to show you actually. Yeah, they will. The supervisor will get prompts that are sent automatically from PhD Manager. So while they do get something that looks like this, a new supervision meeting has been arranged for 12 o'clock on the 25th of January 2024. It doesn't put it in their calendar. So I would suggest that you make contact with your supervisor, whoever you're having the meeting with, and send them an MS Teams calendar invitation. Okay. So if we go back to the project record then for Anton, we'll move on to the initial assessment. So the initial assessment is also known sometimes as the 100 days Viva, as I had said. And it's typically an assessment of your first few months of work. So it could be an assessment of maybe an early literature review, or it could be an assessment of a plan of action to meet the requirements for your project. Typically there's something like a presentation as part of this, and some subject areas have open audience initial assessment where they present to peers, and other subject areas prefer something a bit more closed with just a panel. So you can check with your own subject area what it actually looks like, or I would suggest going into your handbook, and that could well give you the information on that. It's up to the subject areas how they manage that themselves. So before you do your initial assessment, you must do your research integrity course on Blackboard. So I think, was it mentioned at induction last Monday?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is, I'll show you about it. So this is our Ulster University Live system. So there is a note there to all PhD research. Now this is from September, but it's the same information. To all PhD researchers in their first year, please ensure you complete the mandatory online research integrity course. You'll find this on Blackboard. There's the link to it there. You can't complete your initial assessment without completing this course. Okay, so once you complete the course, you'll be able to download a certificate, and then you have to download it or take a screenshot and send it to this email address here, which is our research integrity team. And they do some magic in the background, and they'll update your training record, and it kind of unlocks a thing in the background, I would say, and then that allows you to complete your initial assessment. Okay. So, just for completeness, I'll go back. So there's the initial assessment on your project record. So we go to create new application. Complete and submit your initial assessment form. Yes, we'll start. Please confirm the details as shown below are correct. So it will give you your supervisors and so on. Yes, those are correct. So with your report, please upload a short report on how your research has advanced since registration. So we'll put in test. Please upload Turnitin similarity report. You've probably come across Turnitin already, and you'll know that it is a plagiarism detection piece of software. So you'll be asked to put your initial report through Turnitin. You'll get the Turnitin report at the end, and you add that in. Additional files, you may or may not have additional files. Save and continue. So is there a practice component? For most of your programs there won't be, but if you're on something like music, I guess you could have a practice component. Maybe there's a piece of music that you want to include for your initial assessment, or if you're in art and design, there might be a piece as well that's relevant. So is there a practice component? Then you could say yes, and then give information on that practice component that will form part of the final submission. So it might be where it is, even if it's an installation. Oh, right, for handiness, I'm just going to say no. Further development, please outline how you intend to develop your proposal to ensure that it forms the basis of a PhD submission, or that will be an MPhil submission. So you can add in the detail for that there. Training and development. So you'll get a prompt there about you must complete the research integrity course before your initial assessment. It's not possible for me on this demo system here as Anton to do the research integrity course, but we'll just assume that he has. This list here is of all the workshops and training sessions and so on that you have attended since the initial assessment. And I don't really expect you would have done quite as many as Anton in the 3 months or so in between registering and your initial assessment. But yeah, that's what that is. So we'll just have to skip on to risk assessment. So please upload evidence that any required access NAI checks and risk assessments have been carried out. So you maybe know already that an access NI check is a check that, well, it's a police check. It's to, and if your project involves working with children or vulnerable adults, then you'd be required to complete an access NI check to make sure that you're not a risk to the participants in the project. This is not, the access NI check is not something that you can apply for as an individual. It has to come through the organisation, so the university. And I would ask your postgraduate tutor about that. I know that there is, well, I think that there is a contact in faculties who organises that, and you would work through them to get that access NI check. A risk assessment as well might be, say you're working with, I don't know, unstable, maybe you're working in a lab, something like that, then there would be a risk assessment involved. So you would put that in, upload that, and save and continue. Now, I don't think this will allow me to. Oh, it did. I didn't think it would allow me to do that because I hadn't done research integrity as Anton. So it's waiting for submission. And yeah, so that's all you need to do for the initial assessment at that stage. Okay, are there any questions about that? I would just add that with the research integrity course, do not leave that until the last minute, because there is a bit of manual work in the background for the research integrity team. So when you email them the certificate, they have to do something, and it's best to do that early so there isn't a backlog that they're having to work with to try and do that all at the same time, and it might delay you being able to put in your initial assessment submission. You can do that even now through Blackboard. You just go into Blackboard and add research integrity into the search box that appears there, and it should pop up. Has anyone had the chance to do their research integrity course yet?
I have, yeah.
How did you find it?
Yeah, no, it was quite good. It was interesting. The system's easy enough to work your way through too.
That's good. If you have done it before, for maybe you've done a master's or at Ulster already, if you've already done that research integrity course, you don't need to do it again, but you would need to find that certificate and just send that on to the research integrity team. Okay. So if I go back to Anton's project record, there's the confirmation assessment and final assessment, and I'm not going to go through those because they're further along the lines. So initial assessment is done at about 3 months and 100 days, but it's up to the subject areas when exactly. So ask them, check your handbook. Confirmation assessment is done at about 10 months in, and your final assessment is designed to be almost prep for your Viva at the end, and it's done for full-timers at about 30 months in. And then for part-time mode, then the initial assessment would be at about 6 months in, confirmation assessment's about 20 months, and final assessment is about 5 years, so 60 months. Yeah. So that's that. So I'll explain then the annual report. So an annual report is due on the 1st of May each year, so you need to have submitted it by then. You can begin at any time from the 1st of April each year. It's not an assessment. It's almost like a satisfaction questionnaire, and it's an opportunity to feed back on your experiences so far. It's completed. There are different sides to it. So the postgraduate researcher, you'll complete your bit, and I'll show you how to do that as Anton. And your supervisor also completes part as well. So it's confidential in that the postgraduate researcher and the supervisors don't see each other's parts. And then what happens is once the researcher and the supervisor and it'll be your lead supervisor, in consultation with the other supervisors, once those two parts are complete, the workflow brings it together, and your research director for your area will see both of those online forms. And it's possible then that if there are any issues raised either by either party in either of their forms, then the research director might have to go to one or other party and say, listen, I have seen that there's an issue here in the other form. I want to talk this through because I want to try and resolve that. So, but it's likely that, say you raised something about that you felt was a bit sensitive with your supervisor, your RD, your research director, before they would raise it with the supervisor, would probably talk to you about it first before going to the supervisor. But it would always be in the spirit of trying to get a resolution. I would say too, you don't need to wait until May to raise any issues, though. Please speak to your postgraduate tutor or even us in the doctoral college at any time. You know, this isn't this is a more formal feedback mechanism, but you know, don't suffer in silence if there's something wrong and wait all the way until April, May each year. So I'll go through the form here. So create new application then for your annual report. Please submit by 1st of May each year. So start. Are the project details correct? Say yes. Attendance. So the period spent at university since initial registration or since the submission of last report. So we'll say here it's wonder, I'm not going to have to go through it all. I'll have to go for May 22 until May 23. So period spent elsewhere in research. So maybe Anton was doing some data collection out of the country. So we'll say he was out for a month. Place of study. He went over to Germany. So these are the questions we're going to run through. I'm satisfied with the quality and timeliness of support provided by the research director, postgraduate tutor, and faculty-based admin staff. So it's the same choices of responses for each of the questions. You definitely agree, mostly agree, neither agree nor disagree, mostly disagree, definitely disagree. So we'll say definitely agrees. I'm satisfied with the quality and timeliness of support provided by the Doctoral College in relation to PhD researcher administration. So when we talk about administration, it would typically be organising of interim assessments, how supervisor meetings are managed in the system, things like that. It's not necessarily hard copy paperwork. So we'll say Anton is very happy here. I am satisfied with the quality and timeliness of feedback received from my supervisors following assessments and submission of draft work. Now, that can be formal feedback, for example, written feedback, but also valid as more informal feedback. So that might be oral feedback, and it might be on something that you've submitted, or it might be that there's maybe standing beside you in the lab and you're talking through something. So just be aware that feedback can take a variety of forms, and it might be daily, it might be monthly. There's a range. Fourth question, I'm satisfied with the level of support and number of substantive meetings with my supervisors. We'll say he agrees. 5, I'm satisfied that my expectations have been met in terms of provision of adequate resources to support my study. So, for example, have you got suitable space to work in the labs or office space? Do you have a laptop? Do you have the software that you need to complete your study? All those sorts of things, library resources, things like that too. And then this question here, I'm satisfied with the research environment. For example, research ambience, seminar program, opportunities to discuss research with other PhD researchers and wider research community, etc. Now, that just to explain what research environment is, that's everything from networking opportunities to getting involved with the likes of the Festival of PhD Research, which happens every year in May, and for May 24 it's in Belfast on the 9th and 10th of May, so you'll find out more about that closer to the time, but I'd really encourage you to get involved in that. And you could be a volunteer for that, or you could be a presenter, or even just attend. There's also coffee mornings as well, which are more informal events within our overall research environment, and you'll find details of those in, and I'll show you later, in the list of events on PhD Manager. It can be some of the workshops that the researcher development team in the doctoral college organises, but similarly it could be other training events or other networking events that your own subject area organises themselves as well. Okay. So save and continue. Progress. Please provide a summary report of progress to date. So, okay, you would write a much more fulsome answer, but we'll say satisfactory. Target submission date. That would be the end date for you. Will you meet the target date for submission of your thesis? Of course, yes. Research or development program. So that's feeding back how you find the program. I'm satisfied with the RDP. Yes. I keep updated on the research or development program by accessing the. Okay, the wording of that's maybe a little out, but how do you find out about the RDP? So from the website. You'll get weekly update emails on the training sessions being organised. We don't use Yammer so much, so don't worry about that. Twitter or X, word of mouth or other. So we'll click these two things. You can click more than one, click as many as you like. How many RDP sessions did you attend? I'll say 5. Please state details of any sessions with which you were dissatisfied. So please be specific so the team can look at that if that's relevant. Please provide any further feedback on the RDP you'd like to share. So we'll say that there are excellent facilitators. And I know Christine would like me to say that the support team are excellent as well, but I'm thinking about time. Right, save and continue. The workflow is on hold while awaiting information required to route this application. Your administrators have been informed. So that's just letting you know that you've done your bit, and in the background, then your supervisor has to do their bit, but your part is complete. Right. I will just let you know as well that if there's anything, I think I can go back into it. If there's anything that's negative throughout the whole form, not even specifically on RDP, that will get picked up, and if you chose definitely disagree to any of the questions in the sections, that will come through to the doctoral college, so we have a chance to address anything that you're not happy with as well. Okay, are there any questions about that? No? Okay. Let's see. Go back to Anton's project record. Right, so that's the annual report. The next thing on the list here is submission and examination. So that's for your Viva at the end. So it's so far down the line, I'm not going to go through that for now. Change requests. This could be useful for you. So that's if you want to make any sort of changes to your project, like mode or change of supervisors, or I'll show you now. So if you start a new change request, these are the types of things that you can change. So say you weren't ready to submit by the end of your 3 years or 6 years, you would choose this extension of time option. If you were moving from full-time to part-time or vice versa, then you would click this option here for transfer mode of study. I would just say though that if you are funded and you move from full-time to part-time, you would lose your funding. And there would also be implications for visas for anyone who holds a student visa as well. So visa holders need to be full-time. Transfer programme from PhD to MPhil. Some people find that they want to exit early, so they would use this option here to transfer to the Master of Philosophy MPhil course. Study away if you plan to be off campus for a while, but doing your PhD, maybe you're visiting a library or you're doing data collection somewhere else or fieldwork, then you would choose this option here. It has to be in connection with your studies. A leave of absence, you'd choose that if for some sort of reason, life happens, or if you got ill, you had to take a leave of absence from your studies, then you would choose that. For full-time mode, that's a maximum of a year, and if you're funded, then your stipends are paused during a leave of absence period, and then when you come back, then they recommence. You can't take a leave of absence to work, just so you know. Thesis title or modification of programme of work. That is, say as your studies have gone on, the title, you want to change the title because you want to concentrate on a particular aspect, or if it's just that it no longer reflects what you're focusing on, then that's no problem. You can choose that option there to change the title. And then lastly here, request withdrawal. I hope, what's that? Week 2, you're not hoping to request withdrawal yet. You'll stick with us. So the supervisor changes, you can change supervisors, and that can only be done though by your UOA admin or your supervisors themselves. It can't be done by a postgraduate researcher. So we'll go, it's all a very similar format, but we'll go with the project title change here. I've done this before, I know. What do I say? If you hang on 1 second, I will stop sharing my screen just for a minute and talk amongst yourselves while I update this. Gwen, do you want to see if there's anything in the chat box, and I'll just update this.
No, I think we're up to date in the chat box.
Okay.
There
thanks.
so far, unless anyone has any other questions. I think we've covered most in the chat, unless anyone has anything else at this stage.
No.
Nope.
Okay, I'll just share again. I've sorted this out. Okay. Can everyone still see my screen okay? Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
So we'll go back to change requests. Sorry about that. So my record, research project, down to change requests, start a new change request, and we'll go with changing the title. To change your thesis title, please submit a modification of programme of work form. Start request. So it will ask you again, are these project details correct? Yes, they are. Current title makes no sense. Revised title of research programme is, I don't know, test. Nature and extent of changes to original programme, so maybe no significant actual changes, but to the content. Reason for change, greater focus on particular area of X. Save and continue. And then notes, you can add something else, so I don't know. This reflects recent discussion with supervisors. Or you can leave it blank, but just note that this can be seen by yourself and all the staff as well who are involved in reviewing the application. And that's just standard and normally not an issue. So confirm and submit. And then Anton would get a notification that, Mag would get as supervisor gets a notification that Anton has put in a request to modify the programme of work, the title. A little summary here. And meanwhile, Anton can see that it's with the supervisor to review. When Mag goes in as supervisor and approves this, then there'll be a status. The status here will update to saying approved. And then there might be a delay of a day or so, but the project title will update to the new title that Anton wants. Okay, is that all right? And as I say, all those other options for changing, making change requests, it's all a very similar format in terms of the form to fill in. So I'll go back to Anton's project record here. So we've done all of these things. We're down to, let's see, we don't use this review of progress against deadline. We'll go to absence. So there are different types of absence that you'll see when I start this, but just to explain that as postgraduate researchers who are full-time, you do get 40 days of annual leave each year. Now that includes the dates that the university is closed, and I can put this in the chat later on. There's a link there that lists them all. This will be relevant really for all students in the uni. So that gives you everything from the next closure date coming up, which is St. Patrick's Bank Holiday, 18th of March, and then Easter. So we're closed for a week at Easter, all the way through to Christmas next year. And if anyone's noticed, it's exactly 11 months until Christmas Eve today. Right, so within those 40 days of leave, though, that includes the closure days, and once you take those university closure dates out, it leaves you with about 26 days of floating annual leave that you get to choose when you take that. The annual leave year runs from the 1st of October through to the 30th of September each year. You can't carry over any days from one year to the next. You're not expected to submit a leave request for any of those dates that the university is closed. So I'll put those dates, the link for that in the chat later. So start a new change request, a new absence request. Do I want to start? Yes. Again, it'll ask, are your project details correct? So these are the types of absence available. So annual leave, like I've spoken about there. Sickness, if you are sick for a week with flu, then you would choose this sickness option. If you are more seriously ill and need more than 2 weeks off, then you would submit a leave of absence change request. So that's under that change request tab that we just ran through. And then the other option here is authorised absence for study-related travel, for example, to go to a conference, or you're travelling abroad somewhere quite a distance away for your data collection. It's going to take you a while to get there. So that would be an authorised absence too. If the absence is for more than 2 weeks, you should complete a study away change request. So if you're going to spend 2 months off campus, then please do that. For our full-time candidates as well, just so you know that if you're funded, you're expected to be on campus daily or certainly regularly. And as a general guideline, that would be 2 or 3 times a week. But I suggest that you would speak to your postgrad tutor on exactly how often you would be expected by your subject area to be on campus. So for this, we're going to use authorised absence as a demonstration here. So the leave that Anton's going to take, he's going he's going to go to a conference on the 1st of February, and it's going to take him a few days. So say 5 days. Contact details whilst on leave. So the address would be a hotel. So we'll say going to France. Telephone number. So that's typically a mobile number. Method of maintaining contact with supervisory team whilst absent. So you're not on annual leave, you're on authorised absence because you're travelling or going to a conference, but you're still engaged with your studies. So maybe it's email and phone that someone can contact you if they need to. Will you be travelling to a different country during your leave? Yes, he's going to France. Details of a conference or study-related event you'll be attending, name, dates, location. So we'll say it's the 2nd to the, excuse me, 5th of February 2024, Art and Design Summit, Paris, France. If there's maybe he's presenting, or if there's any other information relevant to that, then you can upload that too. So save and continue. And then you hit confirm. If there's anything else you want to add, you can put that into the notes. Confirm. And you can see here that the request is with the first supervisor as well for approval. Waiting for supervisor, and similarly, they'll have got, the supervisor will have got an automated notification to say that that's in the system for them to approve. Okay, that's that bit. And the next tab down here, these tabs here all relate more to the training and development side of things. So Christine, you can keep me right here because this is more Christine and Lisa Thompson's side of the house, but I'll do my best here. So the training needs analysis here, it allows you to identify strengths and weaknesses or development areas for yourself that you would like to enhance. So it's intended to be a personal and constructive process. It allows you to identify useful training opportunities to strengthen your own areas, and you can do it with your supervisor if you like, or do it by yourself, whichever you're more comfortable with. If you choose to do this with your supervisor, they'll work through it with you, maybe at one of your early supervision meetings. And just so you know too, they also have access to this same training needs assessment that you fill out. So you just consider what your current skill level is for each of these qualities. So Anton here is really good at, has got great personal qualities, and there's enthusiasm, perseverance, integrity, self-confidence, self-reflection, responsibility. He's a great guy, so he's a 5. Self-management, he's maybe a bit, finds it challenging when he's doing this preparation and prioritization and so on. So he's just a 1. Professional and career development, like your career management, continuing professional development, he's maybe a 3. And then you just work through the tabs in a similar way. Gives you a bit more information on each of these categories. And work through research governance, engagement. Again, identify yourself. Oh yes, and you can add the priority then. Is this a high priority or a low priority? Anton is maybe not very sociable, so he's seen this as a low priority. Communication and dissemination, say high priority, high priority. I think I might have to go back and add these things in. So that's that tab, that's engagement tab, a knowledge tab, creativity, it's art design, so he's brilliant. Knowledge base, cognitive abilities, And then once you do all that, then a training plan can be generated. So it goes through each of the development needs, and you can choose. Yeah, you can choose your skill, come back to the later date, say when you completed some training there. Yeah, but it's meant to give you a chance to reflect on your own abilities at this stage, and then develop and enhance those that you might have a need to. Christine, is there anything else you want to add to that if I missed things?
No, I don't think so. Just we have a very broad range of training courses available. Not all of them are going to be applicable to yourselves just at this early stage, but just keep an eye out on courses and workshops for, specifically targeted for first years. We have plenty coming up sort of in the next month or so, just to get you started on it.
Mm-hmm. I'll go to the live system. I'll show what you mean. So this is the Ulster Live system here, and down here in events and workshops, maybe you've seen this, I know some have, it has the full list of all the workshops and training sessions available. So here we are today with PhD Manager Training, and then there's Microsoft Teams training for tomorrow, and you might want to book yourself in on that. And then I think you know already that there's a library induction for new PhD researchers, which is online, and that's on Friday morning. So as I'll go with that actually. So if you click into any of these instances, you'll get the details and then links for any that are online. It'll tell you the faculties that it's suitable for. And Christina, see that you organised that. Gives you the skill that it's intended to address, which is helpful for your training plan. The intended audience here is useful to know. So, for example, a couple of years ago, I think it was, we had some really, really enthusiastic postgraduate researchers who seemed to go a bit mad at the start in September, and they booked up for everything, including, now they had just registered, so including how to prepare for your Viva. And then that kind of took up spaces then for people who were actually approaching their Viva. So the likes of this information down here is useful to help you make a decision on if that's something appropriate for your stage of study. And you can't, I can't do this on the live system, but you are able to book a place on that as well. We can see here there are 5 people who've gone ahead and done that already. If you're not, if something happens and you're not able to attend a session, then please go back in and cancel your place, because quite often and especially for the really popular sessions, there could be a waiting list. So if you free up that space, it allows someone else to attend instead. So is that okay, Christine?
Yep, I think I was just going to say that if you can't attend, just be sure it only takes a minute to go back in and change your status to not attending on PhD Manager. Because sometimes we do have waiting lists for popular courses, so it'd be great if you could do that.
There are coffee mornings planned for February. So there's the Coleraine one there and the Belfast one on the 7th of February, and that's in the docks. So that's kind of the shared space for just the postgraduate researchers that we have at each campus. And you can visit the dock at other campuses that aren't your own home campuses. Derry London, Derry, 8th of February, 10 to 11 as well. And I would suggest that you would book a place as well, so we know how many donuts to bring, and that, so you don't miss out. So if we go back to Anton and the training needs analysis, the training plan, he can build a plan, and the supervisor can be very helpful in helping do that. And then the training log at the end will list all the sessions that Anton has been to, any that he is booked up for, and the attendance record again. Yep, that's a list of of all the sessions. Okay. So if we go back to his project record. So yeah, done the training needs analysis training plan. That just looks the same as what we've looked at. It's just another way in. Training log is the same too. And you can actually, I'll show you, go back through the years as well. So that's all there. And before you, when you, about 6 months after, sorry, if you want to keep a copy of your training log after you leave, be sure to take a record yourself, so you can share that with an employer, or if you want a referee, someone like that, because you won't always have access. So, and you can add any external training that you complete as well. You can do that manually. So I think actually, if you go into, yeah, if you go into add a new development activity, you can add that in external training. So there might be something specific to your own subject, or maybe a particular method that you are using for your project. Date, end date, duration. It was 5 hours. Details. Relevant files. Maybe there was a completion certificate. You can add that all in. And so then that will come up in your training log. Okay. So I'll go back to Anton. That's him. Is there any questions about training? No. If I go back to the live system as well, so this is the Ulster PhD Manager live system. On the sort of landing page, the dashboard that you'll see, you'll have a notice board. So for any key dates or information that's useful to you, we'll put that there. Do look out for your weekly email from the RDP team. It's really good, gives you updates on what's happening, things that are available to you for training. And please know too that the Doctoral College will only use your Ulster email address from here on in. So they did contact you by whichever email address you gave for your application, via Yahoo or a Google email address. But now that you have registered and have your own Ulster email address, please use that. If you're a member of staff, please make sure that you're logging in using your student email, not your staff one, because you won't be able to access your student file, your student records, using your staff login details. But notice board. So down here, Doctoral College office hours. Just to let you know, the Doctoral College team are normally on campus Monday to Thursday each day. If you needed to speak to someone in person, you make an appointment. On Fridays, though, we operate a virtual office, and it's manned from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every Friday. So you can click at any time into this, and someone will be at the other end of the MS Teams link to speak to you, and you don't need an appointment for that. Okay. Right. That's virtual office. Another thing that we have is you can add your PhD calendar to Outlook as well. So I'll show you that down in the guide section. And the guide section covers all these processes that I've talked about, plus more. Down here on under 9.3, there's instructions on how to add a PhD Manager calendar to Outlook. Now, someone has told me that it's possible that it only links to desktops and iPads, maybe not to your phone, but you can give it a go. It's a step-by-step guide on screen here. So, yep, it gives you all of that. Just make sure that at the end of the process that you have that your device settings are up to date and reflect local UK time. Right. I think that's most things as well. Our contact for the Doctoral College is pgr@ulster.ac.uk, or if you have a query about the researcher development training programme, that's researcherdevelopment@ulster.ac.uk. Another helpful contact would be the help desk. So I think that's, Gwen, am I right? It's service desk at ulster.ac.uk. If it's for something other than PhD Manager, if you had an issue with your laptop, then you would contact the IT team on that.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think that's all that I had hoped to cover. Are there any queries?
Can I just ask a question?
Sure, yes.
I went on there to PhD Manager. I used an incognito window because I'm a member of staff, but I didn't actually have to put in my student email. I've registered for a couple of the sessions, the library session that now online, and it just came up then. It says book a place, and then there was a wee dot below it, respond.
good.
So I hit that.
Uh-huh.
Will that just automatically be linked to my student account?
It sounds like it will, but
Hopefully.
I know about incognito windows, but I wouldn't be sure how that interfaces with, maybe there's login details in the background. You were already logged in somewhere.
I was on this morning, actually.
Yeah.
I was on this morning. Yeah.
Well, it's more so if you do find that you do have issues later on and you're not able to get logged in, it's possible that your computer or whichever device is remembering you as your staff under your staff login details. So if that happens, you just reset yourself to the student login details.
Right. Well, hopefully that's probably because it was on the emails this morning that it just recognised me.
Yeah.
So no, that's grand. I was
if it
wondering.
Works for you, that's great.
I was just thinking. I was thinking, has this actually it seems to have gone through, but I wasn't sure. That's grand. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else?
Oh, that's useful. Yeah, Brian's just said to make sure that, under account details in PhD Manager, it is your student email, just so you know you're in the right one.
Ah, right. It's possible too for anyone who did an Ulster program before they started their postgraduate program that your email address has changed. Most times it just remains the same, but sometimes you're issued with one that's slightly different. So please just make sure that you're using the one that appeared at the end of that appeared in the end screen when you went online to enroll. Okay. Oh dear, someone has a cough and a cold. Well, if no one has any queries, I think we've covered things. Thank you, Eileen. That's very nice of you to say it was helpful. I'll download this recording and I'll send through some of the links as well that I talked about. I'll hang on here for an extra few minutes as well in case anyone wants to ask anything. And in the meantime, if anything occurs to you need a little bit of help with, don't hesitate to get in touch, but only send us easy questions, please. Christine, Gwen, is there anything you want to add? No?
No, don't think so.
No, yep, all good.
Okay, I'll stop recording.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, folks.
Bye-bye.
Have a lovely day.
That's great.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Very good.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.